It all started on a cold July morning. I was in my room and I was waking up from a deep sleep. When I got out into the living room around 7:30 a.m., I thought it'd be a great idea to grab my cat, Avery, and pet him to wake myself up. Before I did that, though, I of course made sure to hydrate. Now, my mom was telling me all about these tiles that she recently got and how they're going to be implemented into the room she is working on. I had to be honest, I had zero energy to really deal with hearing the opinions of how good tile looks when I've woken up from a deep rest and haven't even gotten a drink of water yet. And I gotta be honest, it's just not something that really interests me personally. But I did stand and listen and hear what she wanted to tell me, and I pretty much was like, yep, sounds good. Then I got my water and I pet my cat. She thought it would be a great idea to make some breakfast. I agreed. We decided on bacon and egg burritos. Of course, the dishes in the sink were completely full, and my mom ended up cleaning the dishes and asked if I could get started on the bacon. So I did. I had two slices, she asked for only one. Now, she wanted to make the eggs, but she wanted a particular pan. I originally thought she wanted a larger pan, but she wanted a smaller one. And instead of using a whole lot of butter, like our family friend likes to do when she makes scrambled eggs, she only used half the amount that our family friend uses. And I have to say, the eggs still came out quite fluffy. Now, once the bacon was crisped up and the eggs were rolled into nice, fluffy eggs, we put them in mission burritos shells, wrapped them up, and had a nice meal. I made myself some coffee. She already had coffee, so she was fine. We ate together. I don't exactly remember what we talked about, but it probably was something cool. Then afterwards, I remember needing to use the restroom, and then my mom needed to leave for work. So I said goodbye, and then when she left, I decided it would be a great idea to get dressed for work. Now, the real bummer here was that I did not do any shower. I really should have did a shower in the morning because I hadn't done one like a day and a half and I was feeling really gross. But instead, I just put on the clothes that I had and I left for work. This ended up being a very regrettable decision later on. Now, when I arrived, it was pretty slow. I had a 10 to 7 shift today, and it wasn't that too far out of the ordinary, which I thought was weird because it's July 3rd and July 4th is tomorrow, so you'd think it'd be crazy. And I was proven right later in the day. Holy cow, it was just nonstop barrage of working with customers. And honestly, the entire day was pretty much a blur to me. I could not really tell you any specifics of what happened other than I helped carted and bagged and brought food out. But the lines were so long that I just resorted to being mute the entire time. At best, I would say hello or do you need a bag? But I didn't say anything further than that because any single word would make a stay longer than it needed to get the line through. And no one likes a line taking up too long. So I pretty much went into efficiency mode throughout the entirety of today. It was a very busy day, probably the busiest day of the year, if I'm not mistaken. Then it was lunchtime. Now, what I remember for lunch was that I knew we hadn't been to the grocery store in a while where I live, and we didn't really have that much good food available. I probably could have thrown something together, but on top of that, the parking lot was completely stacked today. And I thought to myself, I do not want to find another parking spot after leaving from work to go home for lunch. So instead, I decided to eat something around the area. I found a really nice restaurant. It was a Mexican restaurant. I wanted fried fish, beans, rice, and a salad with a Diet Pepsi. I got that, and I have to say, the entire vibe and mood of that restaurant was really cool. They had really fun Mexican music playing in the background that I've never heard before, but just had a really nice poppy energy to it that I really dug. And in all honesty, in all, yeah, it was just a really chill and vibey place. I mean, they even had a TV up on the wall that played um, a game show where people had to guess words, and whoever guessed the most words won the most points. So they'd get nice prizes. Um, yeah, the food was good, the atmosphere was good. I definitely would go back again. Now, after my meal, I returned to work, and the first hour was spent doing a lot. During a lot because it was a day going up to 4th of July. We had lot duties with 2 people per hour instead of 1 person an hour because you needed 2 people if you wanted any chance of overcoming the crowds with how many baskets would be taken out of the corral. So I was paired up with a really nice gentleman, and we got started and whooped the lot's butt. Then afterwards, we had an hour of bagging. At this point, I was just so exhausted and just tired throughout the entire experience. And also, it didn't really help at all that I was really sticky and gross. Yeah, I thought to myself, as soon as I get home, I'm taking a shower. So the third hour arrives, and it's a lot again. Smooth, no complaints. I remember the coworker I was working with asking me why I like lots so much, and I said I like the vitamin D, I like getting my steps in, and I like being constantly preoccupied with the job so I don't think about how long it is until I need to go do something else. And they thought that was quite understandable. I also remember we talked about how the black carts are used far more than the gray carts. which was pretty interesting. Then afterwards, I remember the last hour was spent bagging again. Nothing too crazy to report on here, just focused in, razor focused. Then I punched out, I said goodbye to everybody, and then I drove home. Soon as I got home, I suggested to my mom that there were fireworks being done nearby at a park and asked if she was interested in walking there with me because I know that during those special events, the parks are completely crowded and it's ridiculous trying to get parking. It would actually be beneficial to do exercise. So she agreed. Then I went to the restroom. I took a shower. And when I got out, I got dressed and we immediately went on our way. It was a pretty long but very nostalgic trip. Um, I remember we went past a college and it was really nostalgic because when I was younger, I used to walk past this college to go to my high school on foot. And just seeing this college again with 26-year-old eyes instead of when I used to walk there at like 16, 17-year-old eyes, it was a really surreal experience that felt like I was walking through a forgotten dream. Really interesting, for sure. Now, when we got there was crowds everywhere. There was families. There was people. But my mom needed to use the restroom. But the women's restroom had a line that was super long compared to the men's restroom. And apparently, the reason for that was because the men's restroom had like a clog in it, and someone was trying to work on it. I remember there was this guy nearby who was like cussing up a huge storm and just swearing up and down and all around about like how like someone intentionally clogged the toilet and their bad words and all this stuff. And I'm like, wow, there's families here, there's little children, and you're cussing like this, knowing full well like there's like people who are just trying to have a nice time with their family. There were like people waiting in line with their loved ones, and it's just this guy goes all feral because of this whole toilet situation. Made me wonder if he was on drugs or something. Like it was that bad. Anyways, after my mom was done, we watched the fireworks for about 20 minutes, which is about how long they lasted. I was able to film the tail end of it, and that was pretty cool. Really enjoyed that. Really fun. We ended up walking back. I remember we passed by the cafeteria of the college, and I always thought, man, I wish I could go in there and like eat the food in there because it always looked so good to me when I was younger. And then my mom said maybe you could get like a food ticket for that or something. And then I remember we talked about that crazy guy who was cussing up a storm and how like if he were in that store, like he would like be restrained and not allowed to eat because he was like being a nuisance to everyone in the building. And it was a pretty funny line of conversation we had. And then we suddenly talked about like a guy who used to live who no longer lives anymore and died of cancer that got us thinking of like David Bowie and what his belief systems were. Apparently that David Bowie musician fellow was very much a fluid believer in terms of how he saw belief systems, which was quite interesting to me. We arrived home. I got some cherry ice cream. uh, but not before accidentally cutting my finger on a knife. So that wasn't fun. Whoever cleaned that knife put it on the sharp end, and it's a really thin, easy to prick your finger with knife. So the fact someone did that and didn't put it the blunt end facing out instead of the thin, sharp end was not great. But hey, still in one piece. Just gotta put a bandage in front of it. Then I watched a guy talk about a lucid dream he had about like how he realized he could control his dream and how he felt like he was in this endless realm of consciousness where he could do whatever he wanted. And he said like it gave him perspective on like reality and like how reality works. It was a really interesting video. Then after that, I listened to a guy talk about the Miami Mall alien incident. Apparently, a first-hand witness wrote his story on 4chan, and the guy was reading that. It was pretty interesting. The most interesting thing I remember from it was that when the guy saw the being, apparently the being's face was all glitched up, but it was in real life. It wasn't in like, a phone or anything, which was really freaky to the person. And then they remember like memories that weren't theirs being implanted in their head, and them freaking out about that. So I thought that was pretty interesting as well. And then the last thing I remember is that I took my vitamins as I was listening to this story, and I brushed my teeth and took my mouthwash. And now I bid you adieu. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Tomorrow's going to be insane, but hey, at least I get paid time and a half. I'll see you in the next one, and take care, everybody.